My name is Hugh Brooks, and I love sports, especially football. I mean, it's one of America's greatest pastime sports. On Thanksgiving, there's a game dedicated between two rivalries, and on during the Super Bowl, half of America treats it like it's a holiday. An American sports writer named Larry Merchant once said that the Super Bowl is treated like Christmas shopping for bookies. And I can understand why. It's a very powerful game. Each and every play, there's a hitting going on. It consists of some of the biggest athletes in the world going head to head, and it can bring together two complete strangers, bring them together over a team, as well as it can separate some of the closest friends apart, depending on who they're going for. This being said, one major aspect of the game that I don't think a lot of people look at is the evolution and development of the helmet. Now, this can be credited to John T. Riddle, the man who is the founder of Riddle Helmets. He said that whenever they started, there was no history of the game. We were inventing it right then and there. The football helmet, first came in the 1920s, and it was just a piece of soft leather. It wasn't until the 40s until the chin strap was invented, and that all players were required to wear helmets. Then in 1949, the NFL even adopted the use of plastic helmets. In the 50s, internal padding was added, as long as the first known face masks. Also, the first radio helmet was used for communication between the quarterback and the coach in plays and stuff like that. In the 60s, face masks were used by all players, and in 1971, Riddle came up with air bubbles in the helmet, which is used to soften impacts and blows when a player gets hit in the head. In 2002, Riddle came up with a revolutionary helmet. It was so revolutionary that it was even called Riddle Revolution. The reason being is this was the first helmet in history that was intended to reduce the risk of concussions. Concussions play a very, very, very big role in the sport. Players get them all the time without even realizing it. The symptoms are nausea, confusion, memory loss, and fatigue. Players continue playing even if just because you're not unconscious doesn't mean you don't have a concussion or that you're concussed. In 2016, 244 players were reported as either being concussed or having a concussion. That number is actually lower than the prior year when there was 271 players that reported. After a player receives multiple hits to the head, they can develop what is called CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. According to the trustees of Boston University, CTE is a progressive degenerative disease of the brain found in athletes and others with a history of repetitive brain trauma, including symptomatic concussions as well as asymptomatic subconcussive hits to the head, also known as just very, very big blows to the head. The thing about CTE, though, is that players are not, or scientists can't diagnose players or doctors with CTE until they're dead. The reason being is CTE doesn't show up on an MRI scan or a CT test. The only way doctors can determine or diagnose the player with it is during the post-mortem examination. And even if there was a way for doctors to diagnose a player with the condition, there is no known cure for it. And then, as well as in 2002, Dr. Bennett Omalu, a forensic pathologist and founder of Brain Injury Research Institute, was the first to identify an American football player with CTE. And this, according to Dr. Michael A. Gleiber, says this finding is a breakthrough because it will now give the NFL, doctors, and players awareness of the risks they're taking, as well as more precaution steps they can take and safety to ensure the player's safety from concussions. Research organizations such as CTE Center of Boston University, the Brain Injury Research Institute, and Sports Legacy Institute are trying to find ways to be able to diagnose or find symptoms of CTE in a player and help find cures for it. It wasn't until 2012 whenever the first unified lawsuit against the NFL was made of over 80 concussion-related lawsuits and 2,000 players that it affected. The lawsuit stated that the NFL was knowingly allowing these players to play this contact sport while being concussed or having a concussion. Also, Dr. Omalu was the first to make a connection between concussions and CTE. 10 years later after this, in June of 2012, when this was the lawsuit happened, August of that following year, the NFL motioned to dismiss this lawsuit, which had happened. From 2012 to now, players have been trying to sue the NFL for allowing them to play and not winning, just because the NFL says they're running the risk with them knowing. Eric Dickerson, a former NFL running back and Hall of Famer, was asked about CTE, and he was also known as having early symptoms of it. And what he said was, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to play through pain. You're not supposed to cry. We were taught this young during the game. This sport is tough. The sport is brutal, and we're like gladiators. Everyone's waiting to see the big hit just so they can make the Sports Center. Players will, and he also continues to say that as a player, we do not want to admit that we are injured. And if you've ever played a sport, you can understand why. I mean, especially if it's your job. If you tell your coach you're injured, he may cut you. He may not let you continue playing. There's multiple reasons as why they won't. And so all this comes together down and boils down to pretty much is no matter how safe the helmets become, how much pads in there, helmets can protect against or help reduce concussions, but it can't help against negligence. If a player is concussed or has a concussion, it is up to the NFL to keep them from playing until they can pass a series of tests. And I think this is a very, very big problem going on, and I think the awareness, we need to raise the awareness of CTE in football players and other athletes around the world. Thank you.